Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this newest episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone.
And joining us as our guest this week is the other half of 40k Theories, Mama Homebrew herself, Naerina.
Oh, thank you, dearie. That sounds like we're having a 50-50 relationship on this channel, whereas you do like most of the work and I'm there like, hi, it's every other Friday, and I'm here again.
Just don't start singing that Friday song, please.
I wasn't even thinking about it, and now I've got it stuck in my head. Do you know what this means? I'm going to get such a jukebox out of you at some point. Like, I'm just going to make all the songs stuck in your head.
Well, can you make it cult of personality? That would do.
Fair.
And something about moose.
Yeah, or gorilla positions.
Or Ride of the Valkyries.
Hell of a match, Penny. Anyway, in the news this week, what is that?
Orcs. It's Orc Week. It's Orc Week.
Oh yes, and Orks as well.
Yes.
True.
So, to do timeline-wise, the Orc Codex, the actual 40k Orc Codex,
It's in my hand.
Has had its main full release. It came out today at the time of recording because it is the 11th of September today. It got its main release alongside Combat Patrol Orcs, the Beast Snagger Boys, the Beast Boss, Zodgrod Wartsnagger, the Squig Hog Boys, and a reboxed Battle Wagon, which puts the Battle Wagon upgrade sprue into the Battle Wagon kit. And I feel like a right muggins because I just bought a Battle Wagon with a separate upgrade sprue, and they've just gone and put them together in the same box immediately afterwards.
Oh, no.
Whatever.
Oh no!
I've just noticed something that kind of doesn't make much sense to me, right? So, you know how with Orcs, the biggest Orc is supposed to be like, the biggest, the leader Orc is supposed to be the biggest and toughest, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And generally, when an Orc gets bigger, their skin tends to go from a light green, more darker green until like it gets almost black in colour,
That's,
Gaz go on.
That's fantasy.
It's also been mentioned in 40k as well.
Really?
Right.
In previous edition, yeah.
Fair enough.
I just find it weird that the Beast Boss has such a, for lack of a better term, pale complexion when compared to, other war bosses in the past. It just seems weird to me.
They just don't go out enough.
It seems to be a trend amongst the Beast Snaggers in general. And I think GW has just changed up the way they paint Orc flesh. Because it does...
It must be, yeah.
If you look at the Combat Patrol, the boys' skin is almost yellow-green. And the Beast Snagger boys as well have got this almost yellowish green to their skin tone. Zodgrod Wartsnagger, maybe just the lighting they've caught at him, but it's really haggard and almost white in certain places. I think they've just changed their Orc paint scheme generally, because the big thing is, if you look at the Squig Hog boys, look at the Orc next to the Grot. They look to be almost the same skin tone, whereas back in the day, Orcs were noticeably a tone darker than Grots.
I mean, even in the Codex itself, like the entry for knobs, like the knobs are noticeably darker. Even with the Storm Boys, they're still noticeably darker as well. It just seems weird that some of these new Orcs are so pale in comparison. I don't know.
It's a change, to be sure.
Yeah.
Something about the new contrast paints or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Could be.
They also released the Big Ed Boss Bunker, some Orc dice, and some data cards as well, just so that we've covered all of our bases on how you paint all the new Orc stuff that came out. I admit, I've got the Codex, and I've got the starter box, so I already have 20 Beast Snagger boys, a Squig Hog boys, and a Zodgrod. Looking at what's come out this week, I didn't get a chance to go to the shops today, but I think I'm going to pick up the Combat Patrol, because I need some new Defcopters. My Defcopters are dead. And the new boys do look really nice, and I really like the sort of I don't know if it's called a Giga Chopper, but I'm just calling it's Huge Chopper, sorry. The Huge Chopper Mega Armored War Boss model. I do really like it. So I think I'll get the Combat Patrol, and I may get the Beast Boss, but I've got everything else I need for my Orcs at the moment, and I might leave it at that.
Yeah, just don't overdose with that plastic crack there. So you get some money to buy, for instance, food.
Yeah, sure. But on the other side of the... word I'm looking for. Other side of the War, you have Age of Sigmar's Orcs, which are getting their battle tome, eventually, the Orc War Clans battle tome. This is coming out with both its regular and special edition, and is being released alongside a bunch of Cruel Boys miniatures. We have the Maya Brute Troggoth with the Breaker Boss on top, which is a really nice model if you want a monstrous hero. You've got the Beast Skewer Kill Bow, which is the nearest thing to artillery you're ever going to get if you're an Orc. And it has some really nice rules where the damage is you roll a d6 for each wound that the target model has. And for each 5+ you roll, the damage of the weapon increases by 1.
Nice.
So if you're targeting a 1-wound creature, it has a 33% chance of doing anything. If you're facing a 16-wound Star Drake, on average, it's damage 5 or 6.
Nice.
Not bad at all.
Yeah. They're the only Orcs they're releasing at the moment because it's also being released in tandem with the Stormcast Eternals battle tome for AOS 3, including the new Knight Judicator, which is the archer character with his Griffhounds. A re-release of the Lord Arcanum on Griffcharger from Soul Wars. They've actually learned their lesson from AOS 1 and put the character out separately, at least. So you can get the Lord Arcanum on Griffcharger as well as an Evocator Prime for some reason. I guess they make a Knight Incantor conversion if you haven't got any Evocators. And the Storm Strike Chariot, which is a gorgeous little model. The Storm Strike Chariot with the 2 Griffchargers, the bow and the axe-wielding warrior as well.
Yeah, like from the first glance, I looked that between the griffs there is a crossbow. I was like, wait, what? Like, no, it's just a chariot. It's just a chariot.
I do see what you mean, though. It does really look like a Stormcast crossbow.
Would be cool. Would be super cool.
Yeah, I mean, you've got things like the Scourge Runner chariot in the Cities of Sigmar, which is a harpoon launcher on a chariot, but it's mounted to the chariot itself rather than between the mounts, presumably so you don't accidentally shoot the mounts in their head when you're aiming, because if they turn their head too far while they're aiming and you fire the bow, then suddenly you've just shot your own mount through the head. Not good.
Yeah, that's very awkward.
Very awkward.
Also some new releases for Horus Heresy as well.
Yes, there are. I completely missed those at the bottom of the article. So the Ultramarines Praetors that we were talking about last episode are already on their way out. You've got Bad Luck Brian and Axeman.
And you've also got Argel Tal.
And Argel Tal, which some people, I believe his datasheet got leaked or revealed somewhere, and some people were quite sad that he didn't have his Custodian Spear anymore.
Yeah, you'd think he would have had it, considering that was such a notable part of his character, like he stole a Custodian Spear and then broke the gene lock on it to use it.
But then, where's it on his model? I suppose people would then go, but, well, where's his spear? How has he got a spear? He's not holding a spear.
I don't know, maybe you could have it thrown on his back, but then again, this is his possessed form rather than his regular marine form, so maybe if they did 2 versions of the model, like one when his possessed form's activated and one when it's not activated, he could use a Custodian Spear, I don't know.
Perhaps it's the claws. It's very, very hard to hold a spear with those kind of claws.
I know he's holding an Ultramarine in the other one, so it's...
Yeah, but usually Ultramarines are a bit thicker.
Well, this one's not exactly dummy thick, though, is he, so...
Well, I've never thought of Ultramarines as dummy thick, but thanks for this mental image.
Primarch, I'm trying to capture our objective, but I'm so dummy thick that the ash cheeks of my armor keep alerting the guards. Or something. Clang, clang. Actually, for Space Marines to be my pauldrons are dummy thick.
Oh, God. Yeah. Those pauldrons are a dummy thick part. Excellent. Good. We're off to a good start, Rem.
Oh, but speaking of leaks, though, this is probably the best place to quickly segue into it.
Yep.
Apparently, the next Siege of Terra novel is already out in Australia, and not through Games Workshop, but through independent bookstores.
Wait,
Really?
what?
How?
Yeah, Warhawk, yeah. I have no idea how, but apparently someone posted all the spoilers to it on Reddit, and they posted like a picture of the actual novel itself, like a little post-it note with the Reddit thread on it. So, if it's actually legit, then that's like, how the hell did Australians get it first?
Yeah. And I think for the sake of the record, no, we're not going to talk about it. We'll wait until we've got the actual book in our hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, because like, it could be genuine, but at the same time, it could also be a very elaborate fake. I don't know. But that's why I don't want to comment on it at this point in time. But if anyone's listening who's in Australia and is able to get a copy, let us know in the comments if you're actually able to get a copy.
Ideally with pictures sent to us on Twitter with the book open and shut so that we can prove that it is actually legitimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's probably the best place to talk about because we just briefly mentioned leaks, so...
Yeah, that's fair. I believe there were also... I don't know if they were leaks or a reveal of the War Scroll for... I've forgotten his name. Bastian Summit or other.
Bastian Booger.
No. Bastian Summit or other. The name... He's the guy who's in charge of, like, the Hammers of Sigmar. Hang on, what's his name? Bastian... Storkas. I've completely forgotten his name and it's bothering me. Bastian Carthalos. That's the one. Could not remember his name for love nor money. It's the guy with one of the most ostentatious... Lexicanum. Oh, the image. There we go. Thank you, Lexicanum. It's the guy who's got the massive hammer that also imprints your face.
Oh, yeah.
That guy, yeah.
His I believe his War Scroll's been doing the rounds a bit, and it seems pretty blooming powerful. He's got I think his hammer's like damage 4, and he can also make teleportation trickery happen or something. I haven't read it in full detail, but if what we've seen in these few snippets from James Workshop's articles or anything to go by, AOS 3 is going to power creep on AOS 2 very, very hard. Which is normal, but also...
Isn't it?
It's very normal, but also... Yeah.
Briefly going back to Horus Heresy, there was also the free campaign packs that Warhammer Community put up a download as well.
I didn't see those.
Yeah. It basically had one of the first one that was available for download was the Battle for Pluto campaign.
Oh, I feel like I saw this link and then didn't read it.
It's also I've very briefly taken a look at the actual download, the PDF. It's basically it's got quite a lot of lore in it, as you would expect from the Black Book. So if the rumors of there being Horus Heresy 3, second edition coming out are true, this would give away for Forge World to release the other campaign packs that would be intended for other Black Books before second edition drops.
This is true. This is very true.
Though then again, this could be effectively just DLC. We don't know.
Yeah, it's all up. It's all up in the air. And staying with Forge World, those of you who are Forge World aficionados are probably already aware. GW are currently running a contest, by which I mean a giant spender frenzy, where if you sign up to the Forge World newsletter and then spend £100 UK or your regional equivalent, for each £100 you spend, you get one entry into a draw to win your own Warlord Titan.
There goes my monthly allowance.
I know. I'm not suggesting that anyone here should go and enter it, but if you were going to shop at Forge World anyway, or there was that one Forge World unit that's been on your mind that you've been saving up for, then the competition is open until the 27th of September at midnight BST. So I think that's the end of the 26th, if I've got that right. Because normally midnight is 00.00. But it could be the 27th itself. But I'd get in on the 26th if you could. However, it does say that it's not running in things like due to regional competition laws. Ireland, Northern Ireland, and North America are examples of places that are not able to compete in this competition.
Northern Ireland surprises me.
It says Republic of Ireland. It says Northern Ireland there as well.
The Republic and Northern Ireland.
Is there something happening in the sea in between?
I think there's also, bear in mind that because Northern Ireland has a very different relationship with Europe than the rest of Britain has at the moment, due to one thing and another we're not getting into, they might have to abide by certain laws that Ireland abides by in order to allow the frictionless border. I don't know. I'm not a politician or anyone who knows much about that sort of stuff, but it may be that because Ireland isn't allowed in order to have that frictionless thing with Northern Ireland isn't allowed. I don't know.
But that's unfair.
It just surprised me because Northern Ireland is still part of the United Kingdom, so you'd think they'd be able to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm just speculating, really.
Yeah.
If anyone is in Northern Ireland and can verify, please do let us know. Meanwhile, I'm just going to go quickly look at Forge World and see if there's anything that actually interests me on there.
How come I'm not surprised?
For £100, you could buy an entire squad of Deathcore.
Ouch. That Ow. Ow, that hurts.
I think your advertisement speech needs a bit more work. But yeah, you're right.
For £100, you could buy an 11th of a manta.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
For £100, you could buy 2 mega dreads with no arms.
Is it just me, or do you guys, when trying to log on or trying to access Forge World, ask you to do a fucking capture?
It just did it to me. Yeah, it just did it to me.
What's the point? Like, I can understand, like, are you trying to log in? Please do a capture, not just accessing the fucking site.
Define do a capture. Because I'm only asked about, I've been asked about cookies and that's it.
Like, please find all the planes.
Mine was planes. That's weird.
No, nothing here. I guess Finns are machines already that they know not to test us.
You can also buy a lot of heads.
Yeah, you could buy 80 Stormcast Eternal heads. I
was looking at the Legion head upgrades.
Yeah, if I go to my precious Thousand Suns, I could buy for £100 2 squads of Sekhmet Terminators. I could
How many
buy
models is that?
10.
So £10 per model.
I could buy 2 Siren Contemptors with 1 arm each.
1 whole arm, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I could buy...
You could buy 2 Magistus Amons.
Also, can you choose which
arm you want? Why would I need 2 of Ben Kingsley? Come on.
one for gameplay and 1 for diorama.
Fair.
Or you could buy 5 transfer sheets.
That's fucking sad. 5 pieces of paper for a... Wait, hang on. This isn't Magic the Gathering.
But that being said, they did actually... did we talk about it last time, how the 40k Magic the Gathering cards?
I believe we mentioned it, or did we?
I don't know. I can't remember if we did.
I can't remember either. This is kind of bad. I can't actually remember.
But if we didn't, this is the perfect segue for it, though.
Yeah, it is. Go for it.
There are 40k themed Magic the Gathering cards subtitled The Universes Beyond. Subheading for it, but yeah, there are like 2 leaked images so far, like 1 Primaris and 1 of Marnius Calgar. I have no idea how to play Magic the Gathering, and so I couldn't tell you any more about it.
No, me neither.
My friends have tried to teach me how to play, but the only constant feedback that I remember getting is like, no, you don't do it like that. No, don't you know how to play?
All I know is that buying the models is probably the cheaper option.
True. Also, gotta say, in the first picture, that Marine on the left, it looks like his mask is kind of a half of a butterfly, doesn't it?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
because
I do. I see
big
it.
antenna.
Why does it have the antenna? Why?
He wanted to make himself look pretty. Don't judge him.
Also, I
mean,
don't think
they're
the
already
Marnius...
dummy thick.
I mean, I don't think the Marnius Calgar picture was finished. If you look at the Marine behind Marnius Calgar...
In fairness, you do get some finished pictures.
I know.
They'll simplify the stuff in the background, and that's just so your attention is drawn more to the foreground elements.
Indeed.
I know, but it really does look like they just okay, roughly shaded in the face, that'll do.
Like, ta-da, it's ready, I don't have the energy anymore.
I'm not trying to dismiss the artist. I know they've done a fantastic piece of work there on Marnius Calgar. It kind of looks like they've done a fantastic piece and then just sort of put a big blur filter over the background.
I feel for the artist because that thing has a lot of details. I actually salute them for having that much detail in the background character, because I would be like, yeah, there's a blue dot over there, ta-da.
Oh, I found the best thing you can buy for £100 on Forge World.
Tell us.
6 Custodian Aquilon Terminators. Or 2 Telemon heavy dreadnoughts with no arms.
So basically what we're asking, dear audience, is that you write down your shopping list. What would you get for £100 from Forge World?
Or you could buy 5 sets of Lord of the Rings measurers.
Ooh, tempting.
Lord of the Rings themed measuring rulers shaped like Gandalf's staff and Aragorn's sword, etc.
I'll use them to measure like anything else then, but, games.
I just say, we're not cynical.
Much.
We're not cynical.
We only have 2 teachers over here. No, we're not cynical.
Well.
Then what can you buy in the gift section for £100? Gift section where you can buy 6 Plague Toads for £106.
That's actually not that atrocious.
You can buy 4 Grot Tanks.
They're £74. You've got 25 quid left over.
Yeah.
£26. Or you could buy 4 Ripper Swarms.
What? Did you just say 4 Ripper Swarms?
4 packs of Ripper Swarms, I should say, sorry.
Okay, good.
Fair.
Because it's like a pack of 3 for like £25.
Okay, 12 bases. That's not as terrible.
You can also buy a couple of Dwarf Death Rollers.
They're at least cool.
Gotta try and do that thing.
Just looking through all of these models like, oh my god.
You could also buy 6 Cyclops demolition vehicles.
Or 4 times the damned damsels, chaos cheerleading squad, which means like 4 times 4 equals 16 cheerleaders.
Basically, Forge World is expensive, and if you want to enter the Warlord Titan competition, then I sincerely hope you're going with good intentions.
Yeah.
Or you could buy 6 Goat Riders.
I'd rather have the goats.
We get 6 goats with riders then. Anyway, let's get back on track. Something Adam Cole Baby.
Dang.
Anyway.
Yeah. Right.
A quick question. Did you get an email from Games Workshop in German?
I don't have Games Workshop on my emailing list.
Is this something I should be translating to you?
I put a tweet out about it the other day, but basically, for some reason, Games Workshop email everyone on their email list an email in German, for God knows why. I think someone pressed the wrong button. And it was all because of someone scratch building an Imperator Titan.
This did make it into an article, actually, the scratch built Imperator.
Yeah.
I just need to go find it. There we go. So it is just over 9 feet tall, held up by a PVC piping as its skeleton, with 21 separate sub-assemblies you can take apart in order to transport it.
Goodness.
And there are no rules to play it on tabletop.
And nothing on it was airbrushed.
Nothing!
I imagine it must have been some kind of spray paint or something.
There was a combination of spray paints and brushwork. Nothing was airbrushed.
Holy hell.
I was saying if nothing was spray painted either, I'd be like, fucking hell, you're insane.
Well, people are, but yeah. Because I'm just looking at this like, wow.
Yeah. That wasn't the only custom thing that made its way to Warhammer Community this week, as there was a really cool Orc Conversion Army project. I'm not going to ask Fred to put all the pictures on screen, but there's some really cool stuff in here that I really look on. I wanted to make sure that everyone who was on this call saw it.
Now that's called pod racing.
It's the Speed War, yeah. So there's a shock jump dragster modelled on a pod racer from Star Wars. There's a Deathkiller War Trike being pulled by Mangler Squigs that also flies.
Because why not?
A Rucker Truck Squig buggy being pulled by Squigs like bloody Santa's sleigh.
I was just about to say that this thing here looks like you better watch out, you better watch out, you better watch out, etc., 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 because something green is coming to town.
December. And there's like a squig off based on that Warhammer Fantasy Toad Dragon.
Yeah, and
yeah.
The Warboss on Warbite being pulled by the super derpy Colossal Squid. Sorry.
It looks adorable.
That's chasing a grot.
It looks like Sully off Monsters, Inc., but yellow instead of purple.
Oh god, yes, it is. There's a grot over there. Oh god, that's amazing.
Did you see, speaking of Monsters Inc., do you see that Photoshop someone did of Monsters Inc. characters, but in 40k, like actual 40k models?
No.
No, and I'm scared.
like Sully's like, a clawed fiend from the Drukhari range, for example.
Oh no, I did see that.
That is bloody brilliant. Also, Boo, best girl ever.
Trooper Boo.
Trooper Boo. Trooper Boo says something like, "Hello, my darling child. Aren't you a little Trooper Boo, are you? Now let's go and fight the Xenos, won't we?" "Yes, we do."
And then Mike's just pissed off. He's basically given up on things. He's like, right, fuck this shit.
Click, click, boom, boom.
Yet another song stuck in my head. What the hell is going on with my inner jukebox?
I have no idea.
And while we're on the topic of cool models and also, I don't know where. Okay, segue failed. There was a new Blood Bowl star player that was revealed this week.
Oh, the good boy.
So this is
the bestest boy.
This is Wilhelm Chaney, a werewolf player who will be
No relation to Dick then.
Yeah.
No different spelling.
Yeah.
Right.
Seems to be doing a dancing routine, but still.
Oh my god. Best idea for a kid bash. Right. So you gotta replace the football in his mouth with like a rose and basically give him like canisters.
Is this how you're going to eventually use your 100 quid into Forge World?
Make a Spanish-themed werewolf dancer. Diddle-din, 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 diddle-din.
Heck yeah, £100, well used.
If you are interested in using this model for gameplay purposes, it will be available as a star player for the Sylvanian Spotlight team. So it seems like it will be available for all of the undead stuff. And there's a really nice quote here. At the beginning of his career, the Wolfman struggled to adapt to life on the pitch. While he could seamlessly catch almost every ball that came his way, Chaney had a bad habit of returning the ball to the thrower, dropping it at their feet, and allowing the opposition to scoop it up and score.
Oh no. But he's a good boy. The bestest boy.
It is a very nice model, I won't disagree. And speaking of very nice models, but on the much more creepy end, let's take a dive into the Underhive with the Stig Shamblers of Necromunda.
Some say he's a member of House Cawdor, and that he likes to shoot heretics. All we know is that he's called the Stig Shambler. I had to do a Top Gear reference, come on.
Yeah, I know.
We will forgive you for that, don't you worry.
So basically we've got Master Blaster with a big blaster.
Yep. Also, I like the fact that the flamethrower is, there's a candle over there for you to use.
For lighting wick, yeah.
Yeah.
The candle is there to light the heavy flamer.
Yeah,
which is adorable.
That's a very nice touch. As opposed to like a traditional lighting wick, yeah.
Yeah. So, if you run out of that candle, do you just take the one on top of your head and put there, or...
Probably.
It just makes a new one out of earwax or something. It is the Underhive.
True. No one knows whose earwax it is, but, yeah.
Moving onwards.
But yeah, speaking of things that don't look so good, the special edition for Double Eagle came out, and it's fucking hideous looking.
I didn't mind it.
Haven't seen it yet. Oh my god.
I think it just looks hideous. I'm sorry.
R2D2 colouring book.
Okay, it's got a bit of the R2D2 about it, I'll give you that. But I don't mind it. It's a bit plain for a special edition, I think.
Yeah,
but
a bit minimalistic and like in contrast to the whole eagle we have in there, like high definition and looking metallic and everything. And then there's we have black and white and R2D2.
With a plain white with panel line detailing. I understand what they were going for, aircraft fuselage or something like that, but
yeah,
it just looks ugly, I'm sorry.
I don't mind it either, but it's I
eagle
think they could have
fine.
done more with it.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, it still looks better than the bloody Indomitus special edition. It looks like a fucking key lime pie.
And now I'm hungry.
isn't that the one that just peeled away after 5 minutes?
Yes. Yeah.
What? Really?
Yeah. So basically, Indomitus, for those who don't know, there was like two variants of the Indomitus Special Edition novel. There was the Space Marine one, which was all blue but with gold detailing. Mm-hmm. And then there was the Necron one, which had gold detailing as well, but was lime green. And the gold paint on the vinyl cover was so shoddy quality, like, you touch it, it just peels off. You don't even have to touch it, and it peels off, because... Like, my copy had been sitting on my shelf for God knows how long. I picked it up to basically move its position when I was rearranging it, and the gold paint was already peeling off, and I hadn't even touched it since getting it until that point.
That's a really, really cheaply made gold and whatever layer.
It's just like, oof. I don't even want to touch it. I'm scared of touching it now.
Don't look at it. It will peel.
Well, it sounds like it'll disintegrate.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Gold Plastic Syndrome.
Mm.
Do you know, are you guys familiar with that?
I've heard the name.
I haven't.
Right, brief tangent. It's to do with toys and models and that, so it is somewhat relevant to 40k tabletop model discussion, in a way. So basically, Gold Plastic Syndrome is when gold plastic, typically from the late 80s and early 90s, but has been recently as mid-2000s, due to some reason or other, no one quite knows the reason why, but someone thinks it's due to polymers breaking down. Gold plastic from around that time becomes incredibly brittle. Like, to the point where you just touch it and it'll just turn to dust. Like, someone actually made a video explaining it, like a 1 minute long video. Basically, like, you know, two toys, the exact same mold, but one's painted in red plastic, one's in red plastic, and the other one's cast in gold plastic. And the guy's squeezing it, and the one made from red plastic, you know, squeezing, you can hear the plastic creaking and that. Absolutely fine. As soon as he squeezes the gold one, it literally just disintegrates. I just popped the video now. I'll put the link to that video in the video description.
Awesome.
Yeah, do it.
But yeah, you just see him just squeeze it, like, from 30 seconds on, and literally just turns to powder.
Well, I know, obviously, metallics in general are a lot more problematic for paint and presumably, therefore, for casting as well. Because the metallic... Okay, chemistry tangent. Metallic paint molecules are much larger than regular paint molecules for, say, red, white, black. And that's why Games Workshop didn't make any metal contrast paints. They couldn't get the blend right because of the size of the metallic molecules. So it's possible for gold molecules, because gold is much larger than silver, that being the largest sort of casting color they would use, the molecules were so poorly linked together and the polymer wasn't strong enough, the polymer chain, that, and the metallic, I don't know, maybe metallic connections, I don't know, but maybe that's to do with the size of the gold molecules in the polymer, because they're not supposed to really be in a polymer.
Cause it just has me worried now, because the amount of limited editions Games Workshop produces that use gold paint on the covers.
Yeah, and back to a 40k tangent. I find it ironic that something like a Necron has something golden painted on it that just, like, gets destroyed by just looking at the book. Because Necron's metal, haha.
He still looks like a key lime pie to me, though. I'm sorry.
Don't eat metallic key lime pies. You get the iron, yeah, but
well,
that's it.
While we're talking about Indomitus and Necrons, this seems like a good way to segue into the next set of upcoming Warhammer 40,000 board games.
Ooh.
So there are 2 new board games coming from, I believe, Barnes & Noble in North America. They're coming to Game. Yes, Game is still open in the UK. Or if you're in Germany, Thalia or GameStop will be stocking them as far as I am aware. There are 2 of them. The first one is called Fire Team, a hex-based game on a rectangular table which pits 5 assault intercessors against 10 Necron warriors and 3 Scarab bases. It seems to essentially be a stripped down kill team. It's a streamlined version of Kill Team that sort of builds off of the same ideas. It contains rules for Militarum Tempestus, Tau, Orcs, and Harlequins. So if Necrons or Space Marines aren't your thing, or you have a Space Marine or Necron playing mate, then you can still get this and actually get involved with it if you're not playing these particular factions.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
The other one is called Doomsday Countdown.
Jesus Christ, we go back to a fucking 90s Rob Liefeld comic or something.
So it is a cooperative team game for 1 to 3 players, where you control 3 Space Marines and face off against the Chaos Cultists from Blackstone Fortress Escalation. Those models, you may remember the Chaos Cultists, they are in this box as well. You are on a hexagonal-based board where you clip different tiles together by the looks of it, and you can link several games together to create a Save the City campaign. As the box puts it, infiltrate the base, disarm the bomb, save the day. Dun, 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 dun. So you're fighting in Vanatine Hive, trying to locate and neutralize a Doomsday device. And as I say it here, you will assemble the board as you explore. So,
I like
Blackstone
those games.
Fortress.
Oh, did Blackstone work that way? I thought it was set boards that you worked through.
I can't remember, to be honest, but
So basically it's like Betrayal at the House on the Hill.
I have no idea. I've never played that game.
That's a very
New one
good
on me.
game. I love it. Like, board game tangent. It's a game in which a group of investigators go into a mansion, and you just build the mansion as you explore it, and eventually one of you is going to be a traitor. No one knows who at the beginning, and it depends on in which room you find out who the traitor is and what things you already have, etc., which kind of case you get. And there are 2 kind of different little booklets with the cases. They have at least over 80, I think. And then there's another booklet for the traitor, and that traitor tries to win. And then, of course, the other survivors try to win. And there are cases like, for example, you have to get out of the building because it's flooding, and you'll have to get a boat up to the attic so you can get away. Or then you are just... You're turned into a miniaturized version of yourself, and you have to escape the house cat, or etc. There are ghosts, there are vampires that can be in the whole game, and it is super fun. And I just recommend it to like anyone and everyone.
When you started the description, I was going to make a snarky Among Us comment, but then you kept explaining. I was like, no, it's not good. Didn't interrupt. Good.
I'll be honest, I was going to make a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids reference at some point. But
Well, yeah.
if anyone actually remembers that film.
I know the name, but I don't know
We're
anything
not that
more.
young, dearie. We're not that young.
So, have you seen it?
I've seen parts of it. Oh, there's a picture. I just sent it to them.
Have you seen it, Tat?
No.
Not seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Next, you're going to be telling me you've not seen The Goonies.
No.
Nope.
What?
No.
You've not seen The Goonies?
No.
Why the fuck not?
Have you seen all the Disney movies? You know, the first ones, not the additional, Aladdin 2s and 3s? Because I have.
We don't talk about Aladdin 2 and 3.
Of course
Actually,
we
no,
don't.
Wait,
Aladdin
there's
3 was
Aladdin
okay.
2 and 3. This is news to me.
Yeah, there's Return of Jafar and the King of Thieves.
In fairness, King of Thieves wasn't so bad because they brought Robin Williams back for that one.
Yeah, true.
Because in the second one, it was Dan Castellaneta as the genie.
I mean, how can you feel the shoes of, like, the genie? How can you do that after Robin Williams?
It was Disney's own fault for saying, like, oh yeah, don't worry, Robin, we won't use your character to market the film. And they proceed to market the film with his character, which pissed him off.
And, well, saying how do you replace Robin Williams, Will Smith says hi. Whether you think he did a good job or not is up to you. But
A very good addition to the sentence.
They couldn't get Robin Williams, so they got Homer Simpson.
Close enough. No, not really, no.
And for those thinking, what's this got to do with 40k? Well, guess what?
Nothing.
Robin Williams was now a 40k player. There you go.
Yeah.
That's the circle round. There we go. We're back on track.
Now, there is mention in this article, whilst they try and steer us back on, of a game that was announced a while ago called Bladeborn. which is basically like the equivalent for Warcry as fire team is to kill team. That is coming in Germany very soon, and the English version will be out in a bit. So that's just to let you know. If you were wondering where the Warcry game was, it's coming to Germany very soon and will be coming out elsewhere in a bit. That's the best I've got for you. I would like to draw everyone's attention to this week's rumour engine, if that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
I've not seen it, so yeah, go ahead, sure.
It looks like a demon hammer / a Slaaneshi noise hammer.
Yeah.
A noise hammer sounds pretty awesome, an idea.
It does.
When did this drop?
7th of September, so Tuesday.
I was half tempted to make a hammer drop joke, but probably best not to.
No, I think this is just like, if you have this kind of a hammer somewhere in the field, and you just want to, like, let's say that some character is fleeing you, and you just want to stop them. You just hit them with that and say, "Stop, hammer time."
But yeah, I think it's pretty obvious when you're stuck. It's something chaos related, if nothing else.
And I do really think it is like that speaker grill doesn't really. I know it's probably a vent, but it does feel kind of more Slaaneshi than Cornate, because you've also got the tendrils coming off the back. I wouldn't put that in the hand of a Nurgle champion or a Siege champion
not Nurgle.
or an undivided champion.
It could be undivided.
It could be undivided, but
because hammers aren't really a Slaaneshi weapon. Because Slaaneshi tends to be more
blades
and whips and stuff.
It is
whips.
It is
a hammer seems something more. Blunt force strong, so it's like more cornate.
Corn's an axe, though. Corn's all axes.
And swords as well, because, Hellblades.
Okay, yeah, almost all axes, but still, sharp, pointy things.
Well, is that a sharp, pointy thing at the end of that, the other end of the hammer?
Could be.
So it's kind of like what do you call it? A war hammer?
Ha ha ha.
Boo. Boo.
Yeah, I've been telling these kind of dad jokes to my students. They don't seem to enjoy them very much, and I'm like, oh, you.
God, I've not seen the OU meme in ages.
Yeah, that's because you're old.
In fairness, that was a great meme. It's like, oh, you.
Yeah, it is.
That dog.
It's a very good one.
It's a dog's expression that makes it.
True. I'm trying to find it for you.
But then again, Tactica's probably going to say that they've never seen it or something.
I'm just having a read of the Warhammer Alliance stuff and seeing if I can sneak into doing it at work.
Okay.
Because basically Warhammer Alliance is kind of like GW's way of infiltrating schools and stuff like that to get Warhammer into the hands of kids on the cheap. Basically, it's a program that GW have been running for a while where they give you a pile of stuff and say go. So they give you paints, clippers, dice, brushes, 40k frames, AOS frames. Looking at this one, it appears to be... this might be the old one or the new one. I can't... Oh, no, it's the new one because it's got AOS 3 stuff. I can't tell exactly what they are. I'm guessing they are Invictors or... Is that their name? The spear ones? I think they're the spear ones. And then on the other side, it's probably Space Marines and Necrons. But it just gives you some free stuff, and it has just been updated, and I'm just having a quick look to see what the offers are for teaching, because I would quite like to run a Warhammer club if I have the time. I probably don't.
Do it. The science club will turn into a science fiction club now.
I'm looking at the artwork they're using to represent it, and the main thing that's bothering me about it is that why does that Space Marine not have his backpack?
Because it's
God,
heavy.
yeah, what? Okay, yeah, I've just seen that. That's weird. That is weird.
Because the only other time I can think of a Space Marine being depicted without his backpack was in that Inquisitor short movie. That one that Elvis did a parody version of.
Mm-hmm.
Which, funny enough, the actual creator of the original film commented on his Google Translate version of it, and apparently he loved it. So that's
as
awesome.
you should, it's a very good one.
Oh yeah, but it's just why is that Dark Angel's captain walking around without his backpack constantly? It's because that's what powers the fucking armor.
because he's strong enough to do it without the backpack. He needs the backpack at school. He doesn't have to wear it on his free time.
But it says at school, though, so he does need to wear it.
Oh, right.
Ah.
True. Gosh darn it. Yeah.
Also, it's just me. It was a space who looked very much like the kid in the blue jacket. It's like, oh my god, they're related.
They could be. The brothers. Not in arms. At arms, yes.
And Brothers in Arms would have been a grammatically acceptable version as well.
Good to know. I'm been just like grading essays today, so I'm like, I know every grammatical mistake that students make, but can I use this language correctly? No, I cannot.
This is the bread.
Yes.
This is the bread.
Yeah, I mean, I've made the joke of, I come from Yorkshire, so when you get about north of Derbyshire, the word "the" stops existing. And I'm going to say stuff wrong to my students a lot this week. So if any of my students happen to be listening, they probably heard me go on the spiel of, I'm from Yorkshire, therefore I'm going to mispronounce a few things, because the word "the" and the letter G on the end of words doesn't exist.
Tuh. It's just tuh, isn't it? Once you get put at a certain point, up country, it's just tuh.
Yeah, going to shops.
Also, question, Tack. Which one is better? Yorkie or Cadbury?
As in chocolate?
Yeah.
Personal preference, Cadbury's, but that's not to say that Yorkie bars are bad.
I accept this. Because I think that too, except I prefer Yorkie.
I've had both, I've enjoyed both, but if I've got two in front of me, I'm grabbing the dairy milk 9 times out of 10.
So basically, what you're saying that if we were to actually meet in real life and we were to get chocolate, neither of us would be like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. We'd both be very happy.
Absolutely.
Lovely.
Lovely.
And I can't remember who said it, but I always remember this one joke about Yorkshire. Like, email, that's just what a Yorkshireman gets in the post. Email.
That was so bad.
I can't remember who said it, though.
It's fine, no worries. News. Oh! One other piece of news.
Might have been Jasper Cat, actually. Sorry, carry on.
Lawmasters started.
Ooh.
The Warhammer Plus Lawmaster show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the first one of those came out this week for Abaddon.
I've not seen it, so I can comment on if it was any good or not.
No, neither have I. Sadly, no.
Yes, it came out.
I may subscribe for 1 month to give it a watch just to see, because there's an article here with Wade Price talking about it. And I mean, having read it myself, read the article, and having also done Abaddon's lore myself, none of it, it's like, okay, so the process involves identifying key information and assembling the words and imagery that explain that best. Yeah, I understand that. It's a bit like writing an essay that answers a specific question, but you get to use the entire back catalogue of Warhammer artwork to make your point. So I don't think it's going to be like one of my videos, which seems to be like the 40... My Abaddon video is only 20 odd minutes, but I'm going to be remaking Champions of Chaos at some point, and the Abaddon video will probably be nearly an hour. So
it's like, buckle up, kids, let's go.
Yeah, I've not actually done any proper in-depth videos on Abaddon at all. I think the closest I've ever done was about Abaddon, the rumour about him being Horus's clone, and what if he actually failed to kill the Horus clone.
Well, didn't you do one about, could Abaddon be the Emperor's salvation or something?
Oh yeah, there was that as well. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
In fairness, that was a very long time ago I did that video. Actually, how long ago was it when I did that video? That was, over 3 years ago.
Jeez.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, 2018 I did that, yeah.
However, if you are looking for something new to read rather than going back and learning about something that was written 20 years ago, then you may be interested in the new new season, I should say, of Warhammer Horror. It's back.
Oh, it turns out I've actually done 4 videos on Abaddon. Never mind.
Fair enough.
But one of them's from 4 years ago, and it was a shit video, so probably have to redo that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Honestly, I've got to say about this Warhammer Horror, these book cover, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I really like these covers.
Yeah, They are very good. So the 3 covers they've shown are for Goth Ghoul Hollow, which is an Age of Sigmar story in
What, sorry?
Goth Ghoul Hollow.
Goth Ghoul Horror.
Hollow.
Goth Ghoul Horror. Goth Ghoul Hollow.
It's a hard one.
Hollow. What's difficult
no
about
accent
that? Am I not supposed to be the one whose
Gothel.
native language isn't English?
Unless it's like the GH is supposed to be like, when you pronounce slough, so it's like Gothel Hollow or something. I don't know.
Either way, it's set in Shyish, so being ghoul would make sense.
I would say, Anna, if you're listening, please tell us how to pronounce this.
All the
We don't
ghouls
know.
in there are
I
gods.
believe there's a whole separate article with Anna Stevens, the author. Is it that one? No, that's Mark Collins. Apologies, got the wrong author. But yes. So, yeah, there's Goth Ghoul Hollow, or however you're supposed to pronounce it.
Hollow.
Sorry. There is The Bookkeeper's Skull, which I have to say, that is for me the best book cover.
Yeah, it is really pretty. And I like the hint of green in there.
So it is set in agri facilities on the capital world of Potence in Warhammer 40,000. As the Tithe fleets approach, sent on a mission to ensure that the agri facilities fulfill their quotas.
Why is it with the 40k themed Warhammer horror films that always seem to be set on agri worlds?
Easiest place to
crops.
do plagues.
Yeah, and crops are scary.
Like, I think the only one that isn't set on agri world is Sepulturum, which is set in a hive world because it's about a zombie outbreak. So
Fair.
The last one that they've shown is The Accursed, which appears to be a collection. It's an anthology. You've got a bit of Peter Feovari, David Annandale, Richard Strachan. I think.
Ray Cluley.
Yeah, I don't know that name.
I think a lot of these are probably new, because didn't they say like in another article like there's going to be like a lot of people who have recently done the the submission, Black Library submissions.
Yeah, true.
These are probably like their first official publications or something.
Oh, how exciting would that be?
Especially inside an anthology, it's a good place to do it. But yes, if you like your grimdark, super scary, or spooky, or creepy, or whatever Warhammer Horror's perfect tone is, then yes, you can explore Warhammer Horror very, very soon. Did they give a date?
Let me check. Nope.
No.
There are only 60 days left until Halloween this year, etc., etc., etc. So it could be around that time.
Yeah, that's certainly possible.
I'm still surprised that Requiem Infernal was never classified as a Warhammer horror novel when it is like the most horrific book I've read in a long time.
Was it released before Warhammer Horror?
No, it was released after Warhammer Horror became a thing.
I see.
But it was just released as a standard 40k novel, not as a Warhammer horror novel. Which is just still confusing me that, I don't know. Maybe Peter Feovari said, no, I want this as a regular 40k novel, don't make it as a horror novel. Even though it is a horror novel.
And he's in the horror anthology.
I don't know, it's just a bit confusing to me, but anyway.
Yeah. I think that covers us for news this week. I think I'm just doing a quick last flick through. And I think we have... Oh, there was an Underworlds miniature. They're doing a Cruel Boys one. There's a grot with a snare trap. Tiny little thing. But that's it.
I thought they say that they got grot with a stick.
No, it's more of a snare trap type thing.
And I've got this image of a cruel boy saying, I wash myself with a grot on a stick. Does anyone please tell me someone gets that reference?
Sorry.
You not seen the rag on a stick joke from The Simpsons?
Oh yeah, that one. It was just ages ago that I've seen it last.
Well, at least you remember this, so that's all that matters.
I feel like I remember... yeah.
You just remembered, didn't you?
No, I did remember something, though. The New Orc Boys, there's a few people who were not best pleased. It slipped my mind earlier, and now I've remembered. The New Orc Boys are monopose.
Oh. Oh, the grot. Was this the one you're on about? The one with the ball and chain?
That's the one.
Yeah, because I remember showing this in the TTS chat, and like the phrase "grot and ball torture" came up.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yes.
Okay.
And it just feels GW going back to monopose a lot lately.
It's pretty much standard practice now.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
It is.
Especially for something like orcs.
Yeah. Like, I can understand, like, if monopose orcs were, like, like, when you get, like, the cheap, like, well, I say cheap, the £7 pack of, like, 5 random orc boys. If they were all monopose, I could understand. Like, back in the day of, like, 2nd edition 40k and 5th edition fantasy, the cheap £5 boxes where you just get your cheap and cheerful minis, like, they were all monopose.
But they weren't. They were push fit.
Well, I say no. Some of them were at completely monopose, like the Chaos Warrior ones before the Regiment box set. Like they were completely monopose. Trying to find image.
But maybe it's because I've got Black Reach on the brain. But I remember a lot of the Orc boys. They had a set arm. Like they usually had one. They were fully sculpted, but one arm was push fit. So you could put that slugger on anybody's right arm because it was just push fit.
Yeah.
And any head could go with any other head. So even the push fit models of the 5th edition era were still somewhat customizable. The Space Marines, much, much less so because Space Marines are Space Marines. But
I mean, let me put it this way. Back in 2nd edition, the standard Orc boy, the only thing that was changeable on it is whether he could aim the gun up or down. That was the pistol up or down. That was literally it. That's all you could do with it.
yeah, I'm thinking of the 5th edition where it was like 5 bottles for £8. They did it again in 5th edition with like Guardsmen and Orc boys, and they were a bit more interchangeable. Oh, I've got those boys in grots there. So tiny.
The old 2nd edition starter set grots, yeah.
Yeah, still got.
The funny thing is, the 2nd edition models, the monopose Marine with the missile launcher is ironically one of the best missile launcher sculpts from that time.
Is it the one where? Oh, I haven't seen that one.
That was the one from the 2nd edition starter set, and the reason I like that one is because basically it looks like he's holding like in a way kind of like a detonator in his left hand. Or like a
it's
trick
like the
or
firing
something.
mechanism. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that looks so much more dynamic.
Yeah, although the pose is technically the same, the stands like with the legs and everything and the feet, but still, like he looks like, okay, I'm ready to go. If I move from this position, I'm going to fall because this is a darn heavy gun. But 3, 2, 1, click, boom.
I mean, when you compare it to obviously this is the las cannon, but the missile launcher was basically the exact same pose. It just looks so much more dynamic, I feel, for especially for just a static model. It's like ready, aim, fire kind of thing, rather than just standing and go like, oh, I'm bored now kind of thing.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just chilling here until it's my turn to do something. Do.
I'm just glad let's be honest, the 3rd edition Devastators were a much needed upgrade for the 2nd edition's ones.
Goodness, they're moving.
I know.
Gasp. Or could it be that these kind of like static poses are easier to paint or easier to print or sculpt or something in comparison to that? Or
it was basically because they were easier to cast.
Oh, right.
Because obviously, if you have a big monopose body, then basically, it'll be done in such a way so it's like, right, I can just sculpt and just cast a shit ton of them in one go without, excess parts.
Mm.
Yeah, because, take, for example, the Orc Boys kit, great example, because it looks like the new Orc Boys frame won't allow you to build 10 sluggers and choppers or 10 shooters.
Yeah.
Now, this is odd, because that was the way Orcs always used to be. You had one weapon option or the other. But what it meant for the Orc Boys kit was that you basically had to put 2 sets of arms into every kit. And that took up frame space, it took up plastic resources, and thus it increased costs. Whereas, and it's the same, another great example is the Witch Elves kit, because the Witch Elves are spindly as anything, but because the Sisters of Slaughter are in there are 2 full sets of heads So 20 heads plus variants, plus 20 weapon options, plus 20 offhand weapon options, and most knives come with a long or short variant, so you've actually got something like 30 weapon options, plus command elements like banners and musician parts, and suddenly the kit it's actually like 4 layers of frame deep in the Witch Elves box, which it still makes it 35 quid, and it's still obscene, but it was basically, apart from the legs and torso, which were uniform, it was 2 units in one box. Whereas now with the Orc Boys, it's a lot cheaper for GW to pile them all together and say, this is what you're getting, and you are going to like it, because it means they don't have to stuff each box with as many weapon options compared to now. And that's probably why intercessors are not allowed heavy and special weapon options like the tactical squad used to be, because it would just make the boxes more bloated, harder to mass produce, the frame's more of a pain in the rear end, and ultimately leave a bunch of spare parts in players' bits boxes and or bins.
True. Very true.
I mean, as an example, I'll show you this example of a plastic Space Marine Sergeant from 2nd edition. I know I keep going back to 2nd edition, but that's the edition I started on, so I have most experience.
No, that's fine.
Literally, the only bits are separate are the body, the backpack, and the right arm, which is in a fixed pose. That's it.
But when you go forward to Assault on Black Reach, the Orc Boys are very similar. They're sculpted with their legs, torso, and one arm. The only difference is, instead of the 2 attachable parts are the head and the right arm. There's no backpack because it's Orcs. So that practice didn't... Also, the slotter got wider because they made slotter base of the whole base wide for some reason.
Yeah.
Nothing else really changed.
Was it just the one arm for the Orc Boys, or was it both arms?
It was one. The choppers were often... Well, a lot of the choppers were held sideways on, so they sat flat with their chopper like that chainsaw just showing us, and the slugger pointed forwards, and so it was often the chopper arm that was sculpted on rather than the slugger arm. That wasn't true of all of them. Like, for example, there were the big shooter boys that played by different rules, obviously, but for the majority, it was the chopper arm was sculpted on, and the slugger arm was not. And it was the same for the knobs as well, though they had some variation, where some of them had their sluggers up when you put the choppers on.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Good to hear about this kind of the history of sculpting and like mold mating and everything.
Yeah, the one thing that makes the modern Orc Boys different to what Rem and I are discussing, these old push-fit models, is how the mono poses are sculpted. Because... if you look at the Orc Boys sprue, and by the way, we don't need to put this on screen because it's on GW, on Warhammer Community. You can go and look at it in the Unboxing Combat Patrol Orcs article. If you look at the way it's sculpted, to maximize frame space and the number of parts, they've taken apart the torsos, but also made it so that only one torso half can go to the other torso half. And some of the arms are attached to heads, so those heads are locked to that torso and that arm. And they're designed in such a way that you have very little choice in what bit goes where. Back in the old days with these push-fit ones, all of them were sculpted the same way. So each slugger was not assigned to a particular Orc Boy. It could go on any Orc Boy's right arm, as long as that right arm did have a push-fit pole on it. With these Orc Boys, every single model has a set weapon, a set head, a set pose, and no variety whatsoever. They're more dynamic than they used to be, absolutely, but there's even less of an illusion of choice in these models than there was in the models before. Like, back then, you could choose whether the slugger was up or down. On these models, I don't even think you get that choice because of the way the arm is sculpted into the shoulder or is sculpted to slot into the shoulder. You won't have any choice whatsoever unless you bust out your hobby knife and your clippers and your green stuff. And most hobbyists aren't doing that. I've been in the hobby 13 years and I only just green stuffed 3 weeks ago. So...
Yeah, because with my experience using green stuff, like I typically only ever use green stuff like this is back in the day of the old metal models when metal models were commonplace.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the problem with metal models is that you wouldn't get a smooth join. Like when you go together and you still get this unsightly gap between, the seam lines, so you just use green stuff to basically fill the gap, and that was basically it. Yeah.
And I've used green stuff mostly to sculpt like necks. I made some High Elf Spearmen into Bleak Swords, but because the High Elf models come with the necks on the head, not the torso, I had to sculpt everybody a neck. And I did a little bit of gap fill sculpting for a couple of Sorceress conversions that I did. And sculpting necks again. But yeah, I have very limited experience. And whilst I know you can do some crazy things with green stuff, it's not an easy material to use.
It's not,
no.
The problem is trying to get the actual measurements, because obviously, for those who aren't really experienced with green stuff, like I don't know if this is still the case now, but a lot of the time it's not just purely a green putty. You get like, a yellow putty and a blue putty, and
you mix them.
Yeah, exactly. Mix. And getting the right amounts done can be very annoying.
Because if you undercook it, you've got to mix more. But if you overcook it, what happens is it's two different chemical compounds that when you mix them and roll them together, they react to create this adhesive substance. But it very quickly, like glue, it will dry. So if you've been working green stuff for any more than 10, 15 minutes, it starts to dry. So if you've done so, when I was doing my Bleak Swords and everything else project, I had so much green stuff left over because I'd overestimated what I needed that I was able to sculpt a whole separate standard for my Bleak Swords, like a full-on pennant banner, and still I had a rock of green stuff that had dried because I'd had run out of time to use it and had nothing more to use it on, and I had to just throw that in the bin because I had no use for it. It had already dried and set.
Yeah, and you have to pay like a decent amount of money for it in comparison to the amount that you get.
And that... mind you, I bought my green stuff. It was from another company.
Sneaky.
Actually, it was because the shop I went in, they were selling liquid green stuff, the Citadel one, but they weren't selling Citadel green stuff. They were selling some other company's green stuff, whose name I have forgotten right at this moment, so I'm going to go and check what it is.
I hate the liquid green stuff. I thought it was so bloody awkward.
I used it to fill a gap once, and it was okay. But I haven't used it much. What's the company that my green stuff... Army Painter. I've got the Army Painter green stuff.
Okay.
Right. In regards to sculpting green stuff, for sculpting purposes, my only experience really is doing fur. Because back in the day when I was collecting a fantasy army, I was collecting a Beastman army, and I made some Minotaur conversions by basically getting, the plastic Goblin Wolf Rider kits.
Mm-hmm.
I basically bought like a bunch of them just to get the wolf sprues and used the wolf heads on plastic ogre bodies to basically try and make Minotaurs that way and sculpt like horns and basically to fill the gap in the neck, obviously, because there's a huge gap where, the ogre head would be.
Yeah.
I did basically fill that gap in with green stuff and basically sculpt that into fur, which... It's surprisingly easy to do with green stuff because basically what you need is like a pin and you stab it repeatedly to make the texture.
Yeah, or you could get like a really like a metallic stranded hairbrush, and you could sort of stroke down it a little bit and create like a sort of coat effect as well.
Yeah, I only had needles to hand, so it's like stab.
No, that works too. But yeah, I guess what we're just trying to say is.
Green stuff is annoying to work with.
Green stuff is a pain. Yeah, green stuff is annoying if you don't know what you're doing. And there's not very many good tutorials online, because I did a bunch of Googling about how to do green stuff, and I couldn't find a lot. Or maybe I was looking the wrong way about
how to use green stuff. I don't know, you're on your own. Good luck.
Kind of. It was a little bit like that at some points, yeah.
People make tutorials.
So, yeah, and relying on hobbyists to be able to work with green stuff to do anything with their custom projects, I just think it's the wrong way to go about it. Like, one of the things that 12-year-old me loved the most was doing stupid conversions. They were stupid, but I've still got a big shooter boy with a Storm Boy rocket pack topper on his head because it looks like a crown from when he shot a truck and blew it up. And I did all these stupid, tiny, silly little conversions, and they look awful in the cold light of a decade later, and I'm 25. But they're still like, that was one of the things I love doing, and I still love doing conversions. Like, I really do adore doing conversion work. My Shadow Son is converted, but oh god, it was a struggle. And I've got no conversions in my
you also converted Farsight, and that was a gift, wasn't it? That was
a gift. A friend and one of my mods took Farsight's head and arms and attached them to an Enforcer battlesuit to make a custom Farsight for me. For themselves, and then they gave it to me. But my Lumineth doesn't have any conversions. My Slaanesh army doesn't have any conversions. My Ideneth army, the only conversion I managed to do was one head swap for my Akelian Queen and one head swap and arm swap for my Isharan Soul Scryer. Nothing else. My daughter's army, okay, there's a few conversions littered through my daughter's army, but it's, I don't know. I don't think GW is trying to get rid of conversions because they love showing off all these custom projects, but they're making it harder for aspiring converters to just tinker with swapping this bit for that bit. Because you have to actually plan a conversion. Like, I have to go through my bits box, get all my bits out, and go, okay, I want that bit, I want that bit. That bit might look cool. And do all the dry fitting. But they're also putting less spares in every box now, because they're less encouraging weapon swaps, like the Orc Boys kit we discussed earlier. And so there's less bits in the bits box to play with. And when you get hit with that flash of inspiration, you've got less resources to hand. And that's not to say you can't do conversions, because you can, but it feels a lot harder to have access to conversion resources, especially for an Age of Sigmar player.
Yeah.
I tell you what this also reminds me of as well. There doesn't seem to be as much an incentive for like GW to tell people like how to make terrain, for example, because like back in the day, like they even like released books like how to make wargaming terrain. Actually showed you how to make things like, you know, a crashed spaceship or like, you know, an ancient temple out of things like polystyrene and stones, you know. And you get like articles up for like White Dwarf how to make, you know, an imperial monument. Oh, get some cake pillars, for example, you know, because you can get them in different shapes of size and just put like a, you know, plastic space on top and paint it bronze. There you go, you got a monument. But you don't really see stuff like that these days either.
Yeah,
no,
it just feels like Games Workshop is just moving into the direction like, oh, if you need something, just buy it from us. You don't have to do any, you know, we don't encourage any creativity when it comes to, you know, for like terrains or just kit bashing and everything. It is so sad. It's such a shame because I just love seeing people's kit bashes. They usually look bloody amazing. Like, regardless of if it's like good quality kit bashing, okay, it might not be the best, but the idea behind it and the creativity that went into it, goodness gracious, A+.
Yeah. Like, in terms of terrain, I actually don't mind the fact that GW put more terrain out, because I cannot work with I'm not skilled enough with like MDF and stuff and card and things like that to probably make proper terrain. So I much prefer taking what GW has made and tweaking it. I got my avatar of Cain statue on a Sigmarite dais to make an altar of Cain, for example. I can work off of the base of what GW does. So I understand them wanting to, this is our terrain, this is how you get it, you want to build a board, this is what you can do, we will sort that for you. The Realm of Battle board, for example, you don't need to make your own boards with sculpted terrain anymore, we'll do it for you. And I get that, because it's a really good idea for those hobbyists who are coming in and like, oh my god, I don't know how to do this scratch building stuff that you were required to do.
Don't get me wrong, it's a great thing like GW is making its own, you know, official terrain and stuff and scenery you can buy, but I still feel it should still, you know, cater to like, you know, the budding hobbyist, like, hey, if you don't like any of this, here's a book that tells you how to make your own if you're not interested in any of these other things, kind of thing.
But that would then be them saying, hey, if you think our stuff sucks, here's a book that we'll sell you so you don't have to buy our stuff. As a sales tactic, it's kind of counterintuitive. If you tell everyone how to make things so they don't need to buy your things, it becomes counterintuitive to them. But I do really miss it.
I do want to point out that the How to Make Wargaming Terrain book, like, they did come out when GW was still selling like official terrain, like, oh, you want to buy like official hills, trees, etc., and like even things like the old 40k cardboard buildings that you could get and stuff as well, like with the plastic bulkhead sprues and stuff like that, which I still bloody miss.
Yeah, I remember. But I remember in the 4th edition rulebook, there was a template you could cut out to make your own bunker in the hardback 4th edition rulebook. I don't know if it was that you had to. It was a trace that you had to trace it and cut it out, or you could cut it out of the rulebook directly. I can't remember, but it came with like a what you call them, the things you fold up to make it into a thing. You'd got the lines with fold lines and cut lines. I can't remember what they call the diagram, but they had one of those for an Imperial bunker in there in the 4th ed rulebook. I remember.
Do you remember these though?
Nope.
These were the plastic terrain, the cardboard terrain pieces that they sold during 2nd edition. And considering that that's cardboard, with plastic bulkheads for support, they look bloody good.
They do. Yeah. I know this has been probably nearly 10 minutes of old hobbyist yells at cloud about, oh, back in my day. I know, I understand that. But I do... For the younger hobbyists, I think having access to everything off the shelf and out of box is great. However,
you don't know how good you have it these days, man.
And for hobbyists like me, who are still very much learning the basics of how to hobby, it's great that I have the access to the terrain whenever I want it. The Shrine Luminor, the Sigmarite stuff, the new stuff for AOS 3, just because Sigmar terrain appeals to me more than 40k terrain does in general. And the Scrap Town from Kill Team, that's another good example. But it does feel like there has been a shift of, we have great terrain, but also, if you want to make your own, here's some advice. Because back when GW was doing like cardboard terrain, or the stuff they were doing back then, it was generally not Citadel plastic sculpt. It's like, for example, you've got these cardboard bunkers that they sold. Anyone could make something out of cardboard. So I think it would be a bit of a tongue-in-cheek for GW to charge you for the privilege of doing something with cardboard and not give you a way to do your own cardboard because, it's cardboard. But since they've really pushed the Citadel plastic terrain, they've sort of, and I know this started as a point on kit bashing, they've sort of taken a step back to, this is what it should look like, this is what it should be. And I think part of it comes back to the old Chapter House lawsuit about, or maybe not Chapter House, of third-party stuff that is designed to fit within the Citadel universe, but isn't licensed by GW, and GW are clamping down on their own license. Means that they're very protective of what their hobbyists do. Like, you couldn't take a Cromlech miniature to a GW tournament. You couldn't take a scratch-built piece of terrain to a tournament. You'd have to use the Citadel-approved one, and that's fine, but...
Are you not allowed to use scratch-built if you just build it for things like polystyrene and plasticard?
I don't know. I'm not a tournament goer, but I know Facehammer is on this weekend, so there's probably a fair few tournament people who would know about. But, like, for example, if you're playing Sigmar, you've got, like, a faction terrain piece, like, say, the Ideneth boat or the Lumineth shrine or something. If you made it if it was made from scratch and it didn't use the Citadel components, I do worry they might say, is it though?
If you're using like another company's plastic or resin, components for that, I can understand that. But if you're scratch building it entirely out of like polystyrene and cardboard, I can't really imagine saying, because you're not exactly promoting another company's
But you are affecting the base. You may accidentally have the wrong base footprint, or you may have it the wrong height, and thus that affects line of sight.
Yeah, in organised play, yeah.
Does Games Workshop actually care about the height?
Well, if, for example, you need to see whether... If you're trying to hide a tall model behind a building, and you scratch build the building to be 6 inches taller so you can hide your Titanic model behind it, then yes, I think they care in organised play. I don't know. It may just be them trying to protect their own license and also try and make the tournament scene a little bit more secure. I don't know. It could be any number of reasons, and we've just discussed a few lamentations at length.
I can't take my eyes off this abomination.
Fair enough.
Also, what is that abomination you have posted, Remleiz?
Oh, basically someone learned that Gotrek and the Crab from Warhammer Worlds have the same size base, so they decided to make Gotrek the Crab.
Time to crab. Right.
That's me dead, I think.
It's basically that meme, reject modernity and return to crab.
They said I could be anything. They said I could be anything, so I became an axe-wielding crab dwarf.
Did you know that a whole bunch of animals throughout the history of the world have evolved into crabs, even though they're not actually crabs?
I feel like I've heard that before.
And yes, really, yeah. In fact, there's actually a video by a channel called PBS Eons, literally titled, "Why Do Things Keep Evolving into Crabs?"
Huh. Neat. So, with this logic, are Tyranids just on their way to turning into crabs?
Who knows? Maybe Tyranids have already begun the crab evolution, and who knows what they were before?
Regardless,
Tree.
Regardless, it can't be as bad as that from that old Hammer story I shared the other week.
Yeah, we're not discussing that again.
With the dissection come vivisection.
Yeah. But I do believe you have been reading a certain special something that I've been banging on about for weeks that I wanted to talk about.
Oh, Godblight.
Yeah, can we talk about Godblight?
We can do. Oh, bloody hell. We've been on for an hour and a half already. Fucking hell. Right.
We have a lot to discuss here.
We do.
Right. Enter the spoiler room.
Do we need to spoil because it's been out for a while now, hasn't it?
Is it out in regular edition yet?
Yeah. Came out at the same time as the special edition.
Get in the spoiler-ish room.
It came out in May.
Okay, if it's 4 months, then I think...
It came out in May, so grace period for spoilers long gone.
Yeah, listen at your own volition.
Right. So, basically, I'm not going to go through what happened through the novel beat by beat, because, there is a lot to talk about, so I'll just bring up some interesting plot points. But suffice to say, the basic premise of the book is, hey, it's the battle for Ajax, the final major battle of the Plague Wars, where Guilliman and Mortar end up having their big, punch-up. Mm-hmm. I mentioned in a previous episode about the Tattle Slug, which was basically sent to spy on Guilliman and the other Imperial forces during their meeting, and then a librarian discovers the Tattle Slug and they end up killing it, and it's like, oh no, Mortarian's force have been spying on us, and Guilliman's like, don't worry, I was expecting him to spy on us, that's why I wanted him to hear this plan, because we're going to do a different plan. And then Kugath says to Mortarian, aha, I know Guilliman's plan, and Mortarian's like, but Guilliman wanted you to hear of his plan, so we're doing a different plan. It's like, for fuck's sake.
Why does this sound like an episode of Blackadder?
If only.
If only.
I will say this, though. Out of the Plague War trilogy, this is the best one. It was a little bit of a weak start, but it did actually, get better. It was much better than Plague War itself. Thank fuck.
That's not saying much.
For the Dark Imperium series, it is a huge accomplishment. I know some people are going to be on my case for that. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, so at some point, basically, Mortarian and Kugath basically, conjure up plans like, we're going to make a disease capable of killing Guilliman. So what do we do? We're just going to make a disease called the Godblight. Roll credits. And basically one of the key ingredients of this is a piece... I can't remember if it was a piece of the Emperor's blood or a piece of a Primarch's blood. It's probably the Primarch's blood. It's been a while since I've read it, so I might be forgetting some details or getting some things wrong, but anyway. Kugav basically gets given a vial of Primarch blood from Mortarion, which to make the Godblight. But he doesn't use all the blood. He only uses about half of the blood drop to make it, because he basically thinks, Mortarion's making me really angry and pissed off, so I'm just going to keep this last bit in my back pocket, just so, if I ever want to get rid of him, I can do so.
Ooh, chaos into fighting. How original.
Who would
I just want to say, Kugav is amazing in this book because he's so fucking miserable all the time.
That's about right.
That's Kugav's entire character arc. So anyway, while the Imperial forces are getting ready for their fight on Ajax, there's also a invasion of Macragge, because of course there fucking is. It's basically the dregs basically assaulting Macragge. It's basically mainly cultists and demons, because mainly as a distraction to keep the rest of the Ultramarines on Macragge itself. And there's an Imperial Remembrancer on Macragge at the time, and he's basically been barred from entering the Library of Ptolemy. Is that you can't go in there because reasons, and because there's a bit of a war going on, so no one's really allowed in there. We're locking places down, understandably so. He sees a Nurgling that looks like Rotigus, knocking on his window again, hello. It's oh god, it's a Nurgling, shoot it. Misses. Chases after it in the rain, because as you know with Rotigus, rain everywhere, blah blah blah. And when the full-blown demonic invasion of Macragge starts, civilians are being huddled away to safety. Remembrance is asking, what's going on? So, we're getting ready to defend because we're under attack. The attack started, blah blah blah. And at this point, the Remembrancer, he sees Rotigus entering the Library of Ptolemy, and he's basically he contacts Tigerius and basically says Tigerius, there's a big fuck-off greater demon that's just entered the Library of Ptolemy. You might want to do something about it. And Tigerius is okay, I'm coming, but you stay out of there. Okay, I'll stay out of there. Wink.
So he's basically Doctor Strange from the new Spider-Man trailer.
In a sense.
Oh, God.
He goes into the library because, hey, I wanted to go in there anyway. What can possibly go wrong?
Everything.
Pretty much every book in there is...
As usual.
Pretty much every book in there is either soaking wet or covered in mould or both. And he sees Rotigus hello, I'm Rotigus. Don't worry, I'm your friend. It's you're not my friend, you're a demon. Oh, you got me. But anyway, I have a gift for you. I want you to read this book. It's no, it's Demon Lies. No, it's not my lies. Just read it, and... yeah, just read it and you'll get a new insight into your beloved Primarch. It's I'd rather die. It's oh, fine, I'm going to have to kill you now. Oh, Tigerius, you're here. Good, let's have a big fight in the library. Rotigus eventually gets banished. And pretty much every book in the library, except for the one Rotigus picked, is destroyed.
And what's the book that Rotigus left?
Well... as I was reading it, I originally thought it was going to be, it's that copy of the Lectitio Divinitatis that was written by Lorca.
That's where my brain was going.
It's not. Mm-hmm. It's not that book.
What is it then?
I'll tell you.
Oh, really?
Basically, after Rock has been defeated, remember, so basically, takes the book, he kind of slips it away in his jacket. It's maybe I'll just read it. And the book is titled The Reign of Emperor Sanguinius.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Now, why that's significant...
This chaotic fanfiction is getting very cheeky.
No, this is Imperium Secundus.
Exactly.
I know.
That's why it's so significant, because it is the, quote, unremembered empire. Which Gillen doesn't want anyone to know. It's can't let anyone know that I basically made my own second empire when I thought my dad was dead. Oops.
Do up.
Meanwhile...
on the far side of the Macragge sector.
There's a meanwhile?
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom, not Rogue Warrior, Hawk and Animal, the other one, on Ajax itself, So basically, Freight and Matthew, and Gilliman's pet priest, who's no longer his pet priest after he gave him a bollocking, after he got given a bollocking in Plague War, rather.
Yeah.
He has a train, like a battle train, which he's driving towards the centre of corruption on Ajax, where the Cauldron of Nurgle is located. And yes, it is a train. A battle train.
Love it.
A full-blown choo-choo battle train, which has basically got like remnants of Acadian regiment and a bunch of Sisters of Battle and some Frateris militia following him.
Chugga.
And they end up battling away big, end up going through this massive fuck-off swamp towards the hospital where the Plague on Ajax outbreak began. And while this is happening, a battle force of Nova Marines have basically entered from orbit, trying to triangulate the position of the source of corruption so they could strike at that. All the while elsewhere in the world, Gilliman's drawing out Mortarion for their fight. Mm-hmm. And as the Nova Marines are making their way through the swamp, they see some civilian survivors, and the civilians are like, "Oh, the Emperor's Angels are here! The Emperor's Angels are here!" And Nova Marines are like, "Okay, I need you to keep quiet because we're on a bit of a stealthy mission. We don't want to attract demons." "Oh, the Emperor's Angels are here!" "Shut up! They're here to save us!" Bang! It's like, "Oh no, they just shot him. Oh, we're going to run away. We need to warn the others." Church bell starts ringing. It's like, for fuck's sake, right, we need to go and shoot these civilians now. So do we have to shoot the civilians, Sergeant? Yes, we fucking do. Bang, bang, bang. Because humanity, fuck yeah.
As you do.
It's the Imperium.
Humanity, fuck yeah.
It's the Imperium.
Essentially.
No one's having fun.
But yeah, as the battle train's making its way towards the Cauldron Nurgle, the Acadian regiment, their tanks basically they're shooting hordes of demons. Like, oh no, we've run out of ammo. We've got no ammo. Everything's starting to fall apart from the rot and the rust. Oh shit, everyone's dying from plague. Oh, one tank's turned into a massive pile of metal and flesh and everyone's dead. Oh no. Ram it. Just ram through the demons. Just try and get through the train to the train, because the train is mostly untouched because, they're singing prayers and it's the faith of the Emperor keeping the demons at bay, blah, 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 and keeping the machine pristine until it's not, until the machine itself starts to rot and turn rusty, blah, blah, blah. And they end up getting to a point where Kugath ends up having to leave the cauldron. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, the Imperium's going, right, you three plague bearers, stir the pot for me, would you? Because at the moment the cauldron is basically generating a massive storm, which is preventing the rest of the Imperial force in orbit from, providing orbital bombardment and support and stuff like that, etc. It's not the Heresy train for you, ask Naerina. No, it's not.
Aw, damn it.
And Kugath ends up getting into a massive fight, like a one-on-one duel with a Primaris Blade Guard captain of the Nova Marines. And Kugath's like, "You're ruining my fucking cauldron. Go away, I'm bashing man." But obviously, the Nova Marines are like, "Oh, stay close to the priest. He's untouched. He will, his aura of faith will protect you." So, God's sake. Anyway. Kugath ends up getting distracted, and Matthew ends up going to the cauldron, touching the cauldron. He ends up getting very sick from doing so, because it's the cauldron of fucking Nurgle, understandably.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you touch it?
But, as he touches it, the cauldron basically explodes, and according to a dying Nova Marine captain who basically got killed by Kugath, slain in their duel, what the Nova Marine sees is a giant figure in golden armour with a flaming sword smashing the cauldron. Subtle.
Yeah.
Very. Very. Absolutely.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the planet...
How many meanwhiles are there in the story?
47.
There's a lot of plot threads to balance.
Okay. Fair. How long is this book? Like, how many pages
I
is
can't
it?
remember off the top of my head. It's been a while.
Okay, fair enough. Do continue.
So you end up having Mortarion and Gilliman end up having their fight, and Mortarion's he brings up, his lantern, trying to shoot Gilliman with it. Gilliman shoots the lantern out of his hand. It's like, let's stick to blades, brother. Be more civilized. So, fine. They end up having a fight. Clang, clang, clang. Gilliman shoots Mortarion in the face. Like, I thought you wanted to stick to blades. Like, I lied. Ha! But then Mortarion ends up stabbing Guilliman with the Godblight.
I still think it should be called Gilly-Killy.
Guilliman fucking dies.
Again.
Like his face just rots to like a skull.
Again.
Yeah.
Again, yeah. And as he's dying, he basically is like finding comfort in a memory, blah blah. And Mortarion's like, "Oh, so you're trying to run to father and hide, blah blah blah." And again, cutting to like a memory of Guilliman when he met with the Emperor, following the Terran Crusade.
Oh, inside the throne room.
Inside the throne room, yeah.
Ooh.
Now, whether this is an accurate memory or whether this is, a dying man's delusion, not entirely clear. Because, Guilliman's going on about mixed feelings and, he's also remembering how when Trajan Valoris escorted him into the throne when Guilliman was having this conversation with the Emperor, Valoris apparently didn't see any conversation happen, even though he was staring right at it. But apparently, according to Guilliman, and he was talking with the Emperor for days at the time, and Valoris was like, "Were you? You just stand there."
Psychic conversation, Emperor mind protection. It checks out.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And, as Guilliman is still dying and he's having his memory, the Armour of Fate kicks in, and not only that, he starts rapidly healing from his wounds. And it appears as if the Emperor is speaking through Guilliman at this point, to the point where Mortarion's like, "Dad, is that you?" Kind of thing. And Guilliman's like full-blown wrath of the Emperor at this point. And he hints about how Mortarion could possibly be redeemed, but today is not the day. And how the Emperor is preparing to go to war against the Chaos Gods themselves. Preparing to battle against them.
Again.
No, apparently, it seems to be implying, pretty much one-on-one fights. It's implying. And at this point, Mortarion, in a show, it's like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. The door to the mansion of Nurgle opens, and Mortarion's like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. And, he feels Nurgle staring at him, and Mortarion is literally dragged from where he was standing into the mansion of Nurgle. Door slams shuts behind him. And it's like, well, looks like Granddad's pissed off.
Darling dear, you're grounded.
In a sense, yeah. And pretty much with that, Ajax starts easing off on the old warp contagion. The warp starts to no longer have an effect on Ajax itself, allowing the rest of the Imperium to actually, bombard the world, launch invasion forces, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And in the aftermath, Matthew's been taken to intensive care. He's on life support, because he's got literally every disease in the universe.
As you do.
Because he touched fucking Nurgle.
As
because he was touching Nurgle's cauldron, for fuck's sake.
Yep.
This is why you use proper protection, children.
And Matthew basically says to Guilliman, by the way, your dad's coming back and he's going to be getting off the throne and he's going to be doing so soon because the Secretrix Maledictum, it's caused a psychic awakening in pretty much the entire human species, and it's also empowering the Emperor.
Oh.
Now again, whether this is actually true or just, the ramblings of a religious man, not sure. But suffice to say that Matthew believes this to be the case. Whether this is actually the case is a different matter. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then Matthew dies.
As you do, after telling about such
I have
things.
A vague prophecy of the future. Basically.
Pretty much, yeah. And then...
I think I've seen this before.
And then after this...
Especially the bleh.
And after this, since Kugath was banished, he was basically effectively killed, quote-unquote. His physical body was destroyed. So he's basically in a cocoon where he awaits to be reborn. Not going to happen for a while because Nurgle was pissed off at Kugath, because Kugath actually defied, Nurgle's orders. Because what Kugath and Mortarion were supposed to do were to actually withdraw from Ajax because, hey, guess what? Tzeentch's forces are attacking our worlds. Go and sort that shit out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what's the name of that conflict?
What is it?
Oh, there's a name for it. It's Nurgle took a huge swathe of territory, then Tzeentch wanted it, and now there's a big 4-way contest of champions. going
great
on.
game, probably. Sounds
Scourge
like
Stars. I think it's the Scourge Stars?
It might be, yeah.
It's could be.
Bear with me, I'm going to go and check.
But yeah, that's why Nurgle was pissed off at Kugath, and also part of the reason why Nurgle was still pissed off at Mortarion, as well as the fact, like, oh shit, I just spoke with my dad for the first time in 10,000 years. Granddad doesn't like that. And as Kugath is basically sitting in his cocoon waiting to be reborn by Nurgle, Rotigus basically saunters up to him and go, sorry to hear about that, Kugath. Oh, by the way, you're no longer number one Nurgle's favourite. It's me now. Ta-ta, bye-bye.
It was the Scourge Stars, by the way.
Right. And
so that's the reason why you go to the library.
Exactly.
To get favour from Grandpa.
And the story basically ends with Belisarius Cole saying, by the way, I think, the secret to, preventing all this stuff might lie on Sotha, and so basically just leads into the Great Work novel.
Mm-hmm.
The end, basically.
I'm still waiting for another plot twist there, because that was a lot.
It was a lot.
That was honestly a lot.
I know there's some things I've skimmed over, like I skimmed over pretty much everything about, the Farseer with his weird black and bone coloured Dire Avengers, even though Dire Avengers are blue and white. And if it was Storm Guardians, it would make more sense, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's the basic gist of it. There might be some things I've missed or to that effect. Some of the implications are interesting if they are in fact true and not just delusions of those who are suffering from them. Like, the whole, the Emperor's becoming empowered by the Secretrix Maledictum. If that's true...
Then the Emperor is a Chaos God.
Well, not
the Chaos God of what?
If that's true, the Emperor's going to get off his chair at some point.
And if that's true, then oh boy.
If that's true, Warhammer 40,000 Age of Emperor. Da, 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 and then a bunch of people burn their armies.
And if we take the conversation after Guilliman activates Resurrection Orb, to be literal, then not only is the Emperor getting off his chair... Now, if we take Matthew literally, we mean the skeleton's going to stand up. But we could also mean that his mind is going to step away from Terra and the shepherding of Terra, because, the Astronomicon bloody broke for a bit. So they may not need the Golden Throne, him to maintain the Golden Throne for that at the moment. He may be able to direct the power from the Maledictum to power the Astronomicon, allowing thus the Imperium to see beyond the Maledictum if he can turn it into some sort of Astronomicon thingy, allowing his soul to then go into the mansion, the Brass Citadel, the Impossible Fortress, and give the Chaos Gods a soul-bound what for. That may be what Father Matthew means.
Yeah, I'd at least hope so, that, when he gets up, or if he gets up, that something is going to power the Astronomicon. Otherwise, the human races are in big trouble.
I'm just more curious about the fact that Guilliman, when the Emperor was supposedly speaking through him, said that Mortarion could potentially be redeemed. So does that mean the Emperor is capable of actually reversing demonhood?
He said he could do it. No, Mike just turn to demonhood later. But I think, bear in mind again, Emperor is a Chaos God if we take everything that's been said literally. Has there ever been an instance, and this is going to sound odd, of an undivided demon prince being claimed by one of the gods and becoming a champion of that god?
An undivided demon prince becoming an aligned demon prince?
Yeah, essentially.
The closest thing I can think of was an event that happened in Requiem and Infernal where an avatar of a chaos god, not a demon, but an avatar, and by avatar I mean it was imbued with the characteristics of that particular god, ended up changing from one god to another, because the Nurgle avatar was so powerful, ended up killing the Khornate one, and the Slaneshi one basically willingly chose to serve Nurgle instead. Ended up having their form changed because of it. The only avatar that didn't, and the Tzeentchian avatar was basically kept locked away because it was too powerful even for the Nurgle avatar to take out, and the Tzeentchian avatar was just staring and going come on, let me out, I fucking dare ya, I'll fucking have ya. Come on,
right.
If you think you're hard enough.
Because we have evidence, now I know this is circumstantial and from the wrong system, of being able to redeem mortal champions of a god, because in Age of Sigmar it happens, where a Nurgle champion gets turned into a Stormcast.
There was also an event of a Nurgle champion in 40k, but he ended up redeeming himself by basically, he remembered that he used to be an Ultramarine, and then he ended up like smuggling a miniature nuclear bomb and ended up shoving it into his Demon Prince Master's face and going boom.
Right, yeah. So there is evidence of champions of a god that are mortal being maybe not redeemed, that's a stretch, but turning their back on the god in question.
Yeah,
now,
it's a different matter for a Demon Prince, though.
And an even bigger problem for a Demon Primarch, because they're a whole different kettle of fish. However, it's worth pointing out Mortarion chose demonhood as a last resort. He tried to fight the infection that struck the Death Guard when they were becalmed in the warp, and begged for release from it by serving Nurgle.
It was Typhus's fault, basically.
It was Typhus's fault, yeah. So it may be that Mortarion's loyalty to Nurgle has always been more tenuous than, say, Angron's to Khorne or Fulgrim's to Slaanesh. And we know the Emperor is capable of offering a redemption to Primarchs. He did it to Magnus in the Fury of Magnus novella. Granted, this was before demonhood. But this is not to say that, especially if you're on the level of the Chaos Gods, who are known to bicker over each other's property a lot, the Emperor not trying to imbue Mortarion with his own power, thus cleansing the corruption of Nurgle and almost supplanting it.
I just remembered.
Right.
I just remembered. Do you remember in Wolfspear when Russ stabbed Horus with the Spear of the Emperor and it basically briefly purified him?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And remember, Horus flipped on the Emperor during the climatic battle at the end of the Siege of Terror. He begged the Emperor to kill him.
Subject to change with the Siege of Terror.
Yeah, subject to change with the Siege of Terror, but as it stands at the time of recording.
Yes.
So there is precedent that mortal Primarchs, before demonhood, and Horus was borderline demonic at that point anyway, can be flipped by being stabbed by the Emperor's weapon with no involvement from the Emperor himself.
Yeah.
Then supercharge the Emperor to godhood, like Chaos God level power, and let him do it directly. Who knows what's on the table?
I still prefer the idea...
Like converting actual Chaos Gods?
I mean, personally, I'd still prefer the idea that if Mortarion does get purified, I would like Isha to be involved somehow because she's the goddess of healing and in Nurgle's garden.
And it would solidify a human Eldari alliance even further.
Exactly.
Indeed it would.
Personally, I would like it to go down that route, but I understand if they don't go that way. Because even though it's been, stated multiple times, oh yeah, by the way, Isha's in Nurgle's garden, yet no one ever fucking mentions it. Like, hey, remember when the Inari went to Nurgle's garden and didn't even bother trying to see if Isha was there?
Pepperidge Farm remembers. However, I don't think they should do any of the things we just discussed. Because if they do, and they bring the Emperor back in any form, cosmic, physical, or otherwise, and have him going on a purification god bash crusade, then you've basically just ended the conflict. Like, the Emperor either succeeds, at which point, game over, Chaos is dead, and the Primarchs are just waiting to be picked off one by the purification button, or he fails, at which point you've just spent all this time to uber nerf the Emperor back into the floor again and just be like, well, what was the point of that then?
What if?
It's the end time.
What if? Because since we all know that the Emperor's soul was basically splintered and fractured at this point. This is actually touched on briefly in Godblight because when the Emperor addresses Guilliman in his vision, it's like a dozen voices speaking at once, all saying different things at the same time to address Guilliman. Like Guilliman, son of 13,
like the Master from Fallout 1.
Kinda, yeah. Basically, if you read Draco, you know what I'm talking about. Ian Watson reference. There we go. First one in a while. It was just the book title.
I know.
There is a scene where he speaks to the Emperor in it, so it is relevant to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But what if, since the Emperor is basically fracturing, what if they do something at some point like, you know how in Warhammer Fantasy there was that, that avatar of Sigmar? If they do something similar, like an avatar of the Emperor, similar to like the Avatar came out, avatar of the Incarnate, kind of thing.
Well, you got Fantasy had something called the Incarnates, which was sort of the embodiment of each wind of magic, and it jumped from different people. At one point it was in a dwarf, at one point it was in Caradrian, and it jumped around the incarnate of different winds of magic.
No, wasn't it? I'm thinking of, what's his name? Volton, that's it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And Carl Francis, I think, did it as well at the end.
Yeah. So if you have something like, a fragment of the Emperor soul basically being able to be very, very briefly able to manifest in material space kind of thing. Very, very briefly, like maybe at most for like, a few minutes at a time kind of thing.
Wasn't that a plot thread in one of the Sabbath Worlds books? Wasn't there a girl who was like a vessel of the Emperor or something?
Sabbat World that would have been Saint Sabbat, the living saint.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that this sounds a lot like Living Saints.
No, I swear there was a child who was like...
There was a child who was like the reincarnation of Saint Sabbat, and then she was killed, and then her soul ended up entering another woman's body, and then she became the reborn Saint Sabbat with the big wings and everything.
Right, sorry, got that slightly wrong.
That's all right, it's close enough. And given the time, I don't think we're going to have time to do any questions.
Possibly not, but basically what we're saying is that what we should do is turn the Emperor into Harbinger from Mass Effect 2.
Emperor just goes up to Gideon and says, I am assuming direct control.
I know that bombshell.
Does that mean the Legion of Dand are the Protheans then? Is it Protheans?
Yeah, they became the Collectors.
Yeah. Apart from that one. What was his name?
Javik.
I was going to say Jarek for a second. It's like, no, Jarek's from Mortal Kombat.
We were close.
And there's AI called Vengeance or something, didn't he?
Vendetta.
Close enough. Vengeance, Vendetta, it's the same fucking thing.
Wrong language.
It's like, I'm Vengeance, but Italian. Vendetta.
I'm Vengeance, but Italian. Remleiz 2021.
Italian Vengeance. I bet I'll be a pro wrestler's name somewhere. I'll say, he is Italian Vengeance.
But Vendetta, but like with friends.
I know, Vespio Vendetta. There you go. Italian Vengeance, Vespio Vendetta. There you go. Aspiring indie wrestlers as your new ring name, your new gimmick. And on that note.
And on that bombshell.
And on every single frigging weird tangent we have had.
Something, Moose, Gorilla Position, that'll do nicely. Gorilla Press, something other.
Indeed, Penny.
Exactly. After all these years, we're still making that same joke, and no one's
of course
no one's actually gotten the reference yet, apart from like one person.
They'll get there.
They'll get there. Until next time, and this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been a very confused but also very talked out Tactica Imperialis.
And this has been Naerina, also from 40k Theories.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.